Hey everybody, I'm Karen Lightman, Executive Director of Metro 21 Smart Cities Institute. Looks like we've got a really great audience today. Thank you all for joining us. And we call this a webinar, but we kind of host it like a Zoom meeting so that it can be interactive. But today we're going to, what I want to walk you through is our agenda. Kind of introduce the topic, introduce Metro 21. We'll have a conversation with our panelists. I encourage you to either use the chat or raise your hand, and you can feel free to chime in, ask questions, add comments, and we really want to keep this conversation going. So we're thrilled to have you here, and let's get started. So I never assume that people know what Metro 21 is. I didn't know what it was before I got here. And so Metro 21 Smart Cities Institute is at Carnegie Mellon University. We are university-wide, so we work with all 7 colleges and the universities. We focus on taking technology that's developed and researched at Carnegie Mellon and deploying it in collaboration with our community and our municipal and our equity partners to solve real-world problems. And we are focused on collaboration, partnership, it's interdisciplinary. So Carnegie Mellon is really strong in lots of areas, not just robots and artificial intelligence, but policy and business. And that's why this is a great fit, this project here for the G2U, the government to university, because it's about partnership, it's about collaboration, and it's about helping solve a real world problem, which is the talent pipeline. So with that, I want to talk about this G2U initiative, and we're so grateful to have the support and partnership with the Volcker Alliance, who has helped fund in part some of this work, as well as our collaboration with Heinz College at Carnegie Mellon University. And so what we're trying to really do is address the talent pipeline within government. And so we're looking at sustainably connecting our partners in universities in Southwestern Pennsylvania. So you'll see on our panel and in our audience, it's not just Carnegie Mellon, but it's Pitt, it's IUP, it's Penn State Beaver, University of Pittsburgh. We have lots of partners, even West Virginia University, throughout the region, because we want to get those talented students, which I hope some of you are on today's webinar, connected with the jobs in the public sector. And today, in particular, we're focused on public health and social services, because we're in a pandemic and we've got a lot of work to do in this area, and there's needs. And so we want to talk about how we can move the needle forward, help connect those talented students with those great opportunities. And so we're doing that in 2 ways. One is what we call intel sharing. So we have a fantastic steering committee that spans all those groups that I was telling you about, from the government side, federal, state, local, and well as the university side. We have a steering committee, and then we've broken up into 2 working groups. One is on intel sharing, doing things like this webinar today. And then the other one is on messaging. And so that's an initiative I'll talk to you about later, but it's the idea of helping kind of rebrand what government jobs are about and focusing more on that audience of students to help them better understand how exciting a career in government and public services. So today I am extremely honored to have several colleagues here who will join me on this panel. And so I've got Kim Joyce. She's the Deputy Director of Administration at Allegheny County Health Department. We've got Susan Moore, Dr. Susan Moore, who is at she's the Associate Director for Science at the National Personal Protective Technology Laboratory at the CDC. We've got Dr. Malika Turner, who's Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and Dr. Thistle Elias, Assistant Professor of Behavior and Community Health Sciences at the Graduate School of Public Health at the University of Pittsburgh. So with that, we're going to have a conversation about this topic of public health and social services. Please, again, We want this to be interactive, so please share with us your comments and your questions in particular. And right now we're going to get started. Let's get started. So let me first start off with our government partners and what we want to talk about. And Susan, I'm going to start with you because I think all eyes are on the CDC right now. And let's talk about how the pandemic is shifting the needs and the roles that have shifted because of the pandemic. And I would love for you to kick this off, and then we can have some of our, I'd love Kim to then follow in, and then we can have a conversation with the university side. So Susan, take us away.
Great. Well, and first, actually, I do want to thank Kim and her staff for working so hard to keep those of us locally in this region safe. So thank you, Kim, for that work. I know it's a difficult time. You know, really, I want to be clear with us. A lot of people have asked, is the government hiring? Are there opportunities during the pandemic? And during the past several months, the CDC was granted special hiring authorities in a variety of technical and scientific disciplines. The goal for us is we want to be bringing employees on to help with these emerging issues. And while if you've seen them posted, some of the appointments are listed as term limited, there are some opportunities, even for these term limited appointments that we've been getting, to convert them to permanent appointments if the organization has the existing vacancies. So it's a robust time for us. We need diverse talents, many different disciplines, and I think as we go through this discussion, we'll get into some more details about what types of folks we need. But for us, it's you know, we need support, we need help, and that help does include people who are recent graduates as well. And so for us, it's shifting to need the support of folks at all levels of their career, including students.
Great. Thanks, Susan. And I so apologize. I forgot my colleague, Samantha Burney, who's Associate Director of Career Services at Hines College. Sam, we're so honored to have you here with us as well. So with that, Kim, I would love to get your perspective on how, and again, I just got the app from the CDC, sorry, from the Health Department, Allegheny County, updating us on the numbers. So I know you and your team are hard at work, and we're so grateful for your service and commitment.
Yeah, it's certainly been a challenge over the last couple months. I will say that. And so just to give some perspective, so our epidemiology department, who is the department has definitely been hit the hardest in all of this, they were a staff of 12. Right now for surge capacity, they are over 100. And so, you know, we've been reaching out to universities and anywhere that has any applicable degree that they are in need of right now, just to try and get some people on hand to help us do case investigation and contact tracing and data entry. And so the pandemic has definitely spiked the need. And it's actually, I'm going to twist this into a positive, because a lot of the students that we're getting, they have been fantastic. And so if we can find full-time positions for them when this is all over, this would be a great segue for them to transition. You know, and it's not just epidemiology that we need help with. You know, it's been nursing. So I know that we've used the Pitt School of Nursing to help do some fantastic work with our COVID test site. And so this has required us to resource external help, as well as everybody within the health department to pivot and just pick up wherever they can and wherever they're able, while we still try and maintain some functionality of our normal activities. And so with that, I think that, you know, we post things on our website as they pop up for the need. And then we also go to our external partners and our local universities and things to that effect that we feel like would be able to help us fulfill these roles during this time.
That's great. Thanks, Kim, so much. And at the end, and part of the slide deck, we're going to share all these slides, is we have some of those links. And part of what we're doing here is to help get you connected to those students. So we're really greatly appreciative of your time and your service. I mean, what is the hiring situation? Can we talk a little bit about that? It sounds like there's some interim stuff that's happening. Is there Are there jobs available at the CDC and at the Allegheny County Health Department?
Oh, thanks, Karen, for the question. So in the federal government, to include the CDC, we do continue to hire employees. One of the things that's really important for students or faculty at any universities that might be looking for opportunities is to recognize that within the federal government, we have many different types of hiring mechanisms. And this includes opportunities for citizens and non-citizens. So I have some talking points I've shared with the organizers of the meeting that they can distribute afterwards. That'll have a bunch of links. But you're going to hear about Title V type hires, Title 42, special hiring authorities. Within the federal government, there's term appointments, there's career appointments, there's opportunities for veterans, there's opportunities for folks with disabilities. We have many different mechanisms and opportunities to join our workforce. And I think the most important thing I can say is when the talking points get sent out with all the links and resources, please take a look at them and look for opportunities that align with, your needs and your opportunities, because there's a mechanism out there that exists, and we are hiring.
Fantastic, great. Kim, you want to chime in?
So at the health department level, so actually at the entire county level, we are on a hiring freeze. However, there are positions that are absolutely essential that we cannot go without. And so they do allow us to hire during this time for those positions. And so, with that, it's the same mechanism that we use for internships or surge staffing, is that we would post it and then go to the resources that we know of. So for example, like, with all of the pandemic, we have had an exceedingly large amount of grant funding trickle down. And so we have had some vacancies in our finance department. And so we've been permitted to fill those. And same thing with nursing. And so, we definitely have some vacancies that we're able to fill. And when we are able to fill them, they are posted.
Awesome. Thank you. I encourage the folks on our university side, maybe Thistle, or Sam or Malika, do you have any thoughts with respect to what you've heard, word on the street in terms of opportunities? And we should talk about internships as well.
Well, Malika, do you want to take first?
No, you can go ahead, Thistle. Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so I would say that one of the challenges that our students face sometimes is learning about those opportunities and learning what those mechanisms are, right? So we have amazing student affairs offices, but oftentimes when students are sort of working on their own personal inventory of what are they bringing to the work that they could potentially do, what are they looking for out of that work, sometimes the place, and we can help them with a lot of that, but where they sometimes hit up against bumps, especially if they are hoping to stay locally, is really finding out about what are the opportunities. We hear about a hiring freeze, and then folks may just not even look in a certain area without understanding that there may actually be some space for them.
Right. Malika.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that we try to do is to nurture some of those connections with students. Our Career and Professional Development Center is under Academic Affairs, the Academic Affairs Division. And so there are those connections between Career Professional Development Center and the faculty and the deans and the chairs, so that we can continue to build those connections with them and disseminate that information down to the student. So I think that that's really what we're trying to do with the new move from one division to another, is to make that connection on the academic side, since the students spend so much time, you know what I mean, with the academic side of the house.
Absolutely. And actually, maybe this is an opportunity, Malika, for you to talk about some of the work that you're doing, because having that connection with the community can help sow the seeds for that as well. Would you mind giving us, because this is a great project.
Sure. As you introduced me, thank you so much for having me first. But as you introduced, I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs at IUP. But what I'm having fun at doing is overseeing the IUP Food Pantry and Help Center. And we just celebrated a year in the actual facility, We started out with pop-ups and working with the community, mainly a student-driven initiative, recognizing the food insecurity within college students. They did the research and they collaborated with other departments across campus to do pop-ups, to do food donations, to work with churches in the community, to work with other agencies. Even the food bank in Pittsburgh, we had a connection and worked with them to be able to stock our food pantry. And now we are able to work with students and provide them with not only food, but we've expanded it to clothing, to products for women, to socks. I mean, we've been working with companies that provide free socks. So we're just, and I think what's happening is our students are becoming more aware of the needs of their peers and how they can contribute to that work. So we have volunteers who are learning skills and the ability to volunteer and the importance and the value of volunteering. But we also have some creativity with our students who are working in the food pantry and help center, and learning inventory and learning the importance of stocking, but not just stocking, but the importance of why we need to make sure our students have premium food.
And I think this is a great example, sort of tying in with what Thistle said about, creating this culture within your university, connecting to the community, social service, public health. Sam, I'd love to get your thoughts on this and the work that you're doing at Hines College in terms of getting those students, because Hines has a lot of hands-on work in the community and getting those students connected to jobs and careers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people mentioned kind of the hiring freezes and it's kind of deterring students away. But I think a lot of, at least with my students, we try and talk to them about looking at another avenue. So actually, I had 2 students who were obviously impacted the most this summer, who graduated, who are working, I think, temporarily with Allegheny Health Department. So thank you, Kim, for that. So that's just one example of our students kind of trying to find another avenue and another route. So even if there aren't other opportunities, maybe connecting them with someone like Malika, maybe they can work with her on this food pantry idea if they want to do some more public service in that sense. So it's kind of, instead of looking at this straight linear path that maybe they thought their career was going to be, kind of looking in other avenues and directions to help build up the resume. And one thing that I always tell them is any experience is good experience. It's going to look great on your resume no matter what. So kind of thinking outside of the box, especially at times like this. And a lot of times our students do experience-based learning. So whether it's in the classroom, their internship, capstone, and or throughout the year, we host events. And I think one of my second year students, she was able to moderate a panel actually with the CDC and other professionals in the healthcare field, Naomi. She's wonderful. And I think that's just one of the great examples of, even though it seems small and it's not directly related to finding a job and applying, it can only help because it's getting that small kind of foot in the door. So I feel like thinking outside the box is really important.
Great, Sam. That actually leads really well into the next topic of skill sets. And so what are the kinds of skill sets that the folks at the health department and the CDC are looking for? Susan, would you mind kicking this one off?
Sure, thanks. And this types of skill sets we're looking for now and we'll be looking for a very long time include public health, epidemiology, health sciences, all sorts of different STEM positions, technology management, social science, and administrative support. You will find across the CDC positions and opportunities in all of those areas. Within my part of the CDC, which is the National Personal Protective Technology Laboratory, we're very focused on PPE, and we are the laboratory that approves respirators used throughout the nation. So it's been a very popular topic during the pandemic. We actually have 5 positions within our division that are permanent positions with us that are going to be made available in the coming months. The majority of them are ideally suited for students, recent graduates, or early career professionals. Some would be appropriate for postdocs. One of the positions is more suited for a mid or late career professional like an assistant or associate professor. But those are positions that we're looking to fill in the coming months. In addition to that, we also look for those same positions within summer student and internship programs, which we still have working towards those things. And on the talking points that get distributed, there'll be links for and information about how we hire and where you can go to look for those opportunities.
Great. Kim, is there anything you wanted to add on this too?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only additional positions, because we have a lot of similarity between the CDC positions and the health department, I think I would expand to say that we are on continuous recruitment for environmental positions. And so, you know, it's mostly entry level housing inspectors, food inspector positions, and also nursing is always, it seems that we always have a nursing vacancy. Mostly because we have 6 or so departments that recruit nurses for various positions, whether it be home visiting, immunization, clinical settings, things like that. And so I think those in administrative positions, we seem to have a few vacancies in that role as well.
Thank you. And then I think we've hinted a little bit about this, but sort of the skill set, maybe some of the softer skills. I'm curious, Thistle, you're nodding your head. I would love for you to chime in here and let's talk about some of those softer skills and those other skill sets that you're seeing that are in demand for these careers.
Sure. I think that we hear a lot about this combined need for students who can work with little guidance, who can take an idea and run with it, in addition to looking for skill sets, the ability to work in teams, sometimes cross disciplines, right? So students who can kind of get along, but who are really interested in learning from other people along the way, right? That makes a good team member, right? Somebody who's who listens well, and with him you can have a dialogue to sort of move projects forward. So that combo, I would say, an ability to work with a diverse population. We do a lot of partnered work with community-based organizations, in addition to the work that we do through evaluation with state and local government. And in all cases, we're really looking to provide students who have had exposure to how do we think about diversity, how do we value diversity in all of the different possible ways that one might mean that word. In addition to some concrete skills like evaluation skills and ability to think critically, which is something that we also really try to push students more for. So those are the things that I hear a lot.
Got it. Great. Sam or Malika, anything else you want to add on those sort of skills to help build careers in these areas?
I just think the ability to hit the ground running is what I see with our students, because they're managing so much with, you know, our students here are mostly first gen students. And so they're managing 1 to 3 jobs and classwork. And so they understand that's just a little bit of what I wanted to share. I don't want to, you know, but I do think that it's important that they're able to learn, they want to learn and have an enthusiasm about learning because they're hungry. And so I think that's important. And I think you'll see that in the students. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think my other 2 university partner colleagues kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't have too much to add there. I think the addition, obviously, of being flexible, I think this year has shown us that we all need to be flexible in very many different ways. So kind of looking at networking a little differently, or how are we communicating? So I think as long as that flexibility kind of spans and they keep that mindset throughout their career, I think it'll continue to help them be successful.
That is a great segue to what I want to talk about next, which is I know that we're going to be helping host a online virtual job fair that'll be happening in March, and I'll have a slide on that later. But I would love to hear from actually everybody here talking about how you are doing, because we're not having career job fairs in the convocation center. We're not all crammed together, you know, handing out resumes. So how are you guys doing it? Susan, how are you recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to echo all of the advice and guidance that the academic panelists just shared about the types of skills that will be so important for this upcoming workforce and what we're looking for in people. Everything that my co-panelist said is so spot on. Those types of things are so important to people who are hiring, and we're getting better and better at identifying them and looking for that. But I would just encourage you, when you do have opportunities to interview or you're thinking about how you craft your resume, to look for opportunities to highlight those skills and that experience, because knowing to provide it to folks that are hiring is just as important as the hiring official knowing to ask about it. So I just want to echo those statements. As far as what we're doing, yeah, we're learning to live in a virtual world. You know, we are very open to virtual on-campus recruitment sessions. We have supported job fairs in a more traditional sense in the past, but we're doing other things too. We're reaching out to certain universities and we're hosting presentations about some of the subject matter we work on, and giving people an opportunity to ask questions about what working with us looks like, what specific types of activities our staff do. We're participating in events such as this one and the other event that's going through the G2U movement, the Stars on Instagram effort. So we're looking for all those opportunities. And you know, I do want to just point out, I've got a couple colleagues on this call with me. You can see in their names, it'll have their name dash CDC's MPPTL. They all came to MPPTL through very different mechanisms. I just want to reinforce, we have so many different mechanisms by which you can come and participate with the CDC, and even us specifically at MPPTL right here in Pittsburgh. Hopefully some of my colleagues can share their pathway to the CDC maybe in the chat, and then when we get to the open discussion section, if maybe just two of them would be willing to, or more, be willing to share with the students how you came to the CDC and what you're doing for us now briefly, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely, we'll have time for that. Thank you, Susan. Kim, is there anything else you want to add in terms of how you're doing? I think you mentioned you're posting jobs. Are you doing virtual job fair kind of stuff too?
So we have not had the opportunity to do any virtual job fair activities, but we would definitely participate if you know, the opportunity presented itself. I think that the positions that we have been recruiting for have been so minimal at this point, but when things start to open back up, or even, you know, if opportunities arise in the near future, we would definitely like to participate to recruit what positions we do have vacant right now.
Great, thank you. Sam, I know that Heinz College has been doing some, and Carnegie Mellon. Would you mind just kind of overviewing what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. As we talk about adapting, I feel like we've done maybe a lot more virtually than in person. So we had several different career fairs focused, whether it was in analytics specifically, or just kind of our normal career fairs, which we normally have, like the Washington, D.C. Colloquium, which targets obviously government agencies in healthcare, public sector, whatever the area of focus. So what we're seeing is that it's actually becoming a little easier to reach some of those people who maybe can't be in DC at a certain time or can't be in a certain location. So it is opening us up to being able to connect to more employers and more partners of ours, so that way students can connect with them. But I will say that it's tough, you know, being on Zoom all day when our students have classes from whatever time in the morning until whatever time at night, and they're based all over the world. So we still have students that are based in their home countries in China, India, wherever that may be, plus all over the US. So it can be difficult to kind of keep them engaged and excited. But we do a lot of times still see them wanting to kind of connect with those employers afterwards. Great. So it's a little hard wrangling them all at once, but I would say that the interest is absolutely there. And if anything, we're just kind of broadening our horizons with different career fairs and opportunities, and absolutely information sessions and such.
Good, good. And like I said, we're gonna be working with the University of Pittsburgh and the G2U to help do a career fair in the virtual one in March. So stay tuned for that. Thistle or Malika, was there anything else you wanted to add in terms of the virtual nature of connecting students to opportunities?
I would say the only one thing that I would add is that, you know, in the past we would have etiquette dinners and how to, you know, now what we're offering is virtual etiquette workshops so that students are prepared for a lot more of this virtual interaction that they're engaged in. And so that's the only thing I wanted to add that I think is really important, that because students are young does not necessarily mean that they navigate the virtual world the way we think they do. And so we're trying to do some training.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to have you guys train my teenage girls. So we'll be on that.
Yes. We'll do our best.
Thank you. Thistle, anything to add?
No, I really appreciate that you mentioned that, Malika, because we discovered as we were preparing for this past summer's internships that we had needed to do a new and different kind of training for students to help ensure that the online version of those incorporated the necessary ingredients that students might not have had to, or lots of us might not have had to thought about so much before, right? Before we're sort of living on a camera. And need to come across as professional and appropriate. And I guess the one thing that I would add, and I don't know if this is a little bit to the side of your question, I think it's not, is that I have been really pleased and surprised. I've only been in academia 6 or 7 years, and I've been really pleased to see how often I learn of job opportunities via the chair of my department, who an organization has reached out to. Sometimes they're alumni, sometimes not. They take the time to look at what is happening within our school and to say, ooh, behavioral community health sciences, you look like folks who might know some students. And when we get that information from our chairs as faculty, we almost always know, you know what, I've got the person, I've got the student I'm going to reach out to, I'm going to encourage them to look at this. That's not to take away in any way from the awesome work that all of our career services people do for the school. It's kind of like this side door, but it turns out to be a pretty effective and also very satisfying as faculty to be, and probably gratifying, I have heard, as a student, to sort of be tapped and say, listen, we've heard about this. You seem like you really have the chops. I want to encourage you to apply.
Yeah, I mean, for all the automation that we do and robots taking over the world, it really is about those personal relationships and those connections. So let's make a little slide transition to talk about internships, because we do have in the audience a bunch of students and who are interested in internships. A lot of them were virtual this summer. I imagine, I don't know what's going to happen this next summer or even the next spring, but what are you guys doing? Susan, you want to talk about some of the internships? I know you have a pretty intense or very well set up program for internships and fellowships at the CDC.
Yeah, we do. And again, I want to reference folks so that you don't have to write any of this down. There'll be some talking points sent out with links and opportunities. But the summer hires, we hire the same way that we hire every other the types of permanent positions that we have, and that's through USA Jobs. That website becomes very important to understand it, to learn to do searches on it, and to put a resume on it, and to look for opportunities in our local Pittsburgh area. That's where you can go to find when opportunities get posted. We also have, in the talking points you're going to see, I've included some guidance on our student worksite experience program that helps you understand like who's eligible to participate, what participation looks like, what kinds of documents and extensions and might be involved, and what oversight and performance looks like. So there's a wealth of opportunity in those if you guys want to take a look and look and see what opportunity aligns with where you are in your career pathway right now.
Love it. Thank you so much, Susan. And we'll be sure to share that with everybody, and we'll have a place on our website as well, so we'll get the word out. Kim, you want to help us, what thoughts are on internships?
Yeah, so for this upcoming spring and summer, we're trying to navigate that currently. Typically, we have a close relationship with the University of Pittsburgh and their PSI program, and facilitate a lot of our internships that way. There are a few of our grant programs that use engineering colleges around the area to get some internships for themselves. I think one of the difficulties with the health department and any government agency is the lack of funding available for internships. And so, there's a lot of opportunities out there for paid internships. We don't always have that at our fingertips, and we would always be more than willing to host a student for non-monetary if they were able to get credit for it. But oftentimes it's difficult to find students that are able to do that.
Yeah, understood. Sam, I'm looking at you. I know that we have an internship opportunity fund. This year, we were buying Sari's candy, so thank you for that. Sometimes there's like pancakes, like they're literally fundraising to help have students have those opportunities. Can you talk about that? And maybe also how you're seeing the trend in internships?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of different funding opportunities for our students. So it's pretty common on the public policy side of the house at Hines College that a lot of our students are used to those unpaid internships, and they'll seek funding either through our internship opportunity fund, which Karen mentioned, which is run by our academic services, which is wonderful. But we also have a couple other opportunities that some students can be eligible for as well. So Kim, we can definitely talk a little bit more offline about that if necessary. But I would say as far as internship opportunities, we're definitely still seeing a virtual trend even for this upcoming summer, or kind of a hold on what that might look like for the summer 2021. But I think there's still going to be opportunities. I think this past summer was a little tricky and a little tough for some companies just with the situation happening so quickly and wanting to obviously quarantine and start to work from home immediately. But I think this year, people are already starting to get ahead of that and have these remote opportunities or virtual opportunities. So I think our students are open to that as long as they can get some kind of experience with it, even if it does mean not having a funding option as well.
Great. And then I want Malika to close this topic because I have a special question for Malika. All right, Thistle, go ahead.
I don't know that I have too much to add to that. I think we always try to prepare our students for the possibility that experience is going to be gathered unpaid, and that if you can be, and not everybody can be, but if you can be open to positions that don't require funding, that will open up additional opportunities for you. And this is that time, right? In graduate school, in particular, there's no better time to work for no money than towards your professional development and experience and that kind of thing. At the same time, whenever we are talking to folks who want students, I always remind them that students want to be able to eat and also have to pay rent. And I will often remind even the most modest community-based organization that if they can scrape up $500 or even $1,000, that can go a long way. And of course, we do have some university funds available for students to apply to. But I think encouraging students to think about how much do I need the dollars, and maybe I absolutely do, and encouraging organizations to think about, can't we scrape something up somewhere? Isn't there some whatever that didn't happen, and we could use that 500 or 1,000 towards a student.
Great, that's awesome. Malika, I'd love to hear your thoughts on internships. And then I know something we were talking about in our prep is some of the hurdles that you're seeing that some of your students are facing.
Yeah, I think that the thing with IUP is that, of course, like many, maybe other institutions, is that the internships come from many directions. So from the department, as we talked about earlier, but also from we serve as a clearinghouse. Our Career Professional Development Center serves as a clearinghouse for students and that preparation. But I think that, we're finding some of the hurdles that students are experiencing is that virtual, online, being able to communicate effectively with, with employers, and just being able to, that preparation for that virtual interview, which we try to do and try to help them with. But I think that there are just some of those hurdles that our students, they kind of run into some challenges with knowing what's out there with their internship and being able to transfer the skill set that they have with the internship or the job that they're trying to get there.
Thanks, Malika. I'd love to open up the audience to open up the webinar to the audience. And I know, Susan, you had a couple, maybe we can kick it off with some of the folks from your team. They can unmute themselves and introduce themselves and maybe talk about some of the issues you were highlighting earlier. And then I encourage others to raise your hand, ask a question. We'll take about 15 minutes to do a more interactive discussion. Thank you.
Sure, and I just want to, remind the students that, it may be intimidating that you're interviewing through a webcam, and you're trying to make that connection and share a bit of your personality and your experience through what feels like a barrier. Just remember that the people on the other side of the lens are experiencing the same thing. Okay, you may feel like you are anxious and nervous and not comfortable, but the person on the other side feels those same emotions. So that's not something that should make you feel apart from or separate from the person that's interviewing you. You are equals on that plane, okay? I can tell you that every day I work with folks who are getting used to how to use Zoom, how to use MS Teams, where to put their camera, how to unmute themselves. This is a universal struggle. And if you have those challenges,
just change your diaper first.
Yeah, it's not your lack of experience. It's all of us that are doing it. So let yourself be an equal with whoever's interviewing you on that plane, because it's true. So take that away from your fear, get some practice and experience doing it, but don't let it deter you or make you afraid of engaging with folks that way. They are equally as uncomfortable. Okay, number one. So I just want to get that. The other thing I want to do is I want to encourage you that any experience is good. I can't remember who said it in the panel members, but virtual experience is just as useful as in person. We have several folks who are in development internships with us that have done it completely virtual since they came on board right when we all went virtual, and they have done amazing work with us. They've built relationships and trust with our other employees. They've completed important products, and it will look great on their resume. So don't think you're getting the short end of the stick right now just because things are virtual. In fact, you're going to have good opportunities, and you need to sell yourself as someone who already has the experience from going through it, of being able to interact with teams through a remote environment. Learn to use this to sell yourself as a competent and capable employee to future employers. So it's an opportunity here, it really is. And so even if you can't get a paid position, look for those volunteer positions, even if it's only 10 hours a week, to say that you're getting that experience and exposure. So I just want to highlight that. With that, I do want to turn it over to some of my colleagues. I've asked a few of them to come. They've all come to our program through different mechanisms. Lee, can I ask you to start us off and give a little about yourself, and then perhaps I think I saw Ashley on the line, and then maybe John Hillen, and then I'll let the rest of you kind of jump in as you can.
Yeah, just quickly, because we're already getting questions from the audience, so thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Lee Greenewald. I work with Susan in MPPTL. I started my journey with MPPTL in 2009. I was a summer student intern under what's now called the Pathways program that Susan mentioned and will be included in the talking points. So I actually started when I was in undergrad. So I went to undergrad in Ohio University. Every time I came home, summer, spring, winter breaks, I worked at the MPPTL site in Pittsburgh. I continued in the Pathways program throughout graduate school. I went to WVU. I went to get my undergrad was forensic chemistry. My PhD was analytical chemistry. So while in the Pathways program in grad school, I was working for NIOSH and going to grad school. So when I did my research proposal to my committee, I needed to, come up with a topic that aligned with both grad school, analytical chemistry that would be, sufficient for that, as well as meeting MPPTL's mission with, advancing the state of personal protective equipment. So I had, both my NIOSH kind of mentors and supervisors and my WVU committee as part of my dissertation committee. So then as soon as I graduated, as part of the Pathways program, there's a minimum time, like work time requirement, a GPA requirement, and then it's at the discretion of the organization to convert you over into a full-time permanent employee. So as soon as I graduated, I had a short window to be considered for that conversion. And so in 2016 that happened. So right now I'm a physical scientist, and I've done different research efforts all related to personal protective equipment. So it's been really, really enriching and exciting, and there's definitely opportunity with our internship programs to something that I didn't think would end up where I'm at today. Has been really, really awesome. Thanks.
Maybe one person from your team, Susan.
Would one other person like to just provide like a 30-second synopsis how they came to the organization? Someone who came a different way than Lee did. We have some veterans maybe in the audience. John Hillen, I think you.
Yeah, I was just finding my mute button.
Of course.
But yeah, as Susan mentioned, I'm a Air Force retiree, and I'm also a disabled veteran. So I had to, once I retired, I was working in a job that basically I couldn't perform anymore because of my disabilities. And I used the post 9/11 GI Bill, and I attended Robert Morris University, got my bachelor's in accounting, and then got a master's in information security. Fortunately, the VA paid for everything because I was able to use what they had, an integrated master's program. So after 90 credits of my undergrad, I started into my master's. But anyway, I was hired into the IRS. Then I went in and I saw an opportunity with MPPTL, and I went into what they call the records room, where I did all the records for the testing for the laboratory. And now I moved into a position that's a program analyst, where I work with budgets and basically the money of MPPTL.
Great. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. And my dad is an Army vet and also used the Army to fund his college and his MBA as well. So I'm a proud descendant of that. So glad to, and thank you for your service, obviously. We had a question from Cameron Caputi, and Amber, you've done a great job in answering that. And actually, Amber, would you mind just talking a little bit about the Federal Executive Board? Maybe this is a great opportunity, because I think one of the messages we wanted to share is that there's you could do a finance job in government, you could do marketing, you could do lots of engineering, there's a big diversity of jobs that are available. And Amber, I would love it if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself and talking about that really quickly.
Hi, Karen. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I wasn't planning on speaking, so bear with me. I'm working with the Pittsburgh Federal Executive Board, and we are located downtown Pittsburgh in the Moorhead Federal Building, but our area of responsibility is southwestern or western Pennsylvania and north central West Virginia. We have over 150 agencies located in our area of responsibility. We have over 25,000 federal positions in our area alone, and we are not a large regional area like Philadelphia or Boston or Los Angeles. So that can give you a little bit of an idea of all the different jobs that are necessary to keep the government running. And you may think of, the IRS as being an agency with nothing but accountants. They have purchasing agents. They have gun toters, criminal investigators, forensic scientists. Don't just look at an agency's mission statement. Think broad picture. They need people in every single type of position to keep their operations running. So go on USA Jobs, look around and explore all the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you for chiming in. And Kim, I see you put in the chat that the county health department is looking for finance. So Kim, would you mind just speaking to that real quick?
Yeah, so it's actually, surprisingly, it's been a challenge that has not historically been the case. And we are advertising on way more platforms than we ever have in the past as well. And so we have 2 positions that we had previously required a few years of finance experience before you were able to apply. And we had to revise the job specification down to basically entry level because we weren't getting any applicants. And so we have two financial, I believe we renamed them financial analyst positions that would be primarily functioning as grants management. And I think the starting salary is 45 to 51, and they're going to be posted to the website and Indeed and Handshake and various other platforms here in the next day or so if they have not been already.
Great, thanks. And there's a question from Suzanne. Are there postdoctoral positions for public health? So Susan, what do you think?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question, Suzanne. I'm interpreting it to mean you're asking if there's, after you've received your PhD, if there's a specific program just for a postdoc within CDC. And if that's what you mean by your question, I would say one mechanism we do have that we bring in a lot of folks who would be competing also for postdocs is we have what we call our Title 42 hiring mechanism, and we bring in service fellows is what we call them, and they come in for 2 to 5 years usually and work specifically with some of our divisions to work on a high priority project area, and then they move on after that period. So it's very similar to postdoc, and often the people we hire in those positions are folks who would be competing for postdocs at universities. I hope that I interpreted your question correctly. Again, those resources and links for the Title 42 opportunities are in the talking points that will be distributed.
Great. I think we have time for maybe one more question from the audience. Or Ashley, I saw that you made a really great comment and you're with the CDC team. Would you mind unmuting yourself and sharing your journey?
Yes, my name is Ashley Whitson. And I got my degree in biomedical engineering in South Carolina, and I had applied for a job with the CDC, I think in like February of one year, and I didn't hear back until November, so long that I'd actually forgotten about it. But then there was a transition happening in the White House at that time, and so there was going to be a hiring freeze coming soon. And so once we learned about that, things moved very quickly. I had a lot to get done in a very short amount of time, but I was thankful for it because my previous position was ending. So the hiring freeze actually helped me because it helped motivate everyone to get things moving quickly. And then, so I started at the CDC in Pittsburgh with a different program, which was a mining safety program. And then I was actually able to move to MPPTL after I started there. So another thing to consider is once you kind of get your foot in the door, it's a lot easier to kind of move around. So I would highly suggest that if you are interested, take your time up front and, you know, put your resume together so that you can get your foot in the door and then kind of find where you fit after you get here.
Good, I like that. Persistence pays off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. I think I'm gonna start to wrap things up a little bit. I wanna show you some slides of some resources. So for instance, we'll make sure that you have our contact information. We really wanna keep this conversation going. And then I also wanted some links. So these actually, Susan, I pulled a few of the CDC links that you sent me. I put them in here. We'll also make sure that we share the document that you've prepared so thoughtfully. City of Pittsburgh, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Regional Commission, Allegheny County, the Presidential Management Fellows Program, the lots of other great opportunities here. USA Jobs, huge for government. Looks like we've got Catherine in the comments. Thank you, Catherine, for sharing your journey as well. And also, if there are folks on this webinar today and you're like, I have a resource and it's not listed, share it with us. We'd love to. Part of this is to create those, you know, breaking down barriers, creating more collaboration, and highlighting some of the work that we're doing, all of us doing. I also wanted to share with you the other project that we're working on, and Susan actually hinted at this earlier. The other working group we have is on messaging, and we're using Instagram because no one would agree to TikTok. I'm just kidding. Nobody wants to, my girls could do TikTok for us, but we're not doing TikTok. We're focusing on a spotlight series. Haley, Haley Gordon, one of our fantastic interns at Metro 21, is working with our great team, and we're doing interviews with people. And actually, I would love to get folks who are in the audience now in government jobs sharing their story. You know, it's sort of like your journey, your path, your what you're doing, how you got here, what you love about your job. The bottom line is we want to share the good news about the great work that you're doing and connect with that pipeline of students who may not be considering a job in government. So we have our, our little timeline here of what we're doing. We're going to do a soft launch internally later this month. And then we plan to do our official launch on Instagram in January. So stay tuned. We'll make sure that you're involved in this. If you want to be a star, we would love to have you. And Haley, I don't know if you can, Haley, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself real quick and say hi?
Hi everyone, as Karen mentioned, my name's Haley Gordon. I'm with the Metro 21 team. I'm super excited to be a part of this part of the G2U series. Hopefully you guys can tell I'm super energetic, so it'll be a fun conversation that we have. It's really brief and quick, but a lot of information gets shared and I love to hear about it. I put my email in the chat, but I can also put a link. We have a Google form for you to nominate someone as well. So if someone you're thinking like, I want to be a part of it and someone else I know also should be a part of it, I will put the link as well. But please, please, please sign up. It's super fun interview. We're on Zoom. You get to be on camera. I'll make us look Beyonce fabulous. It'll be great. Just sign up and have a great conversation.
Oh, Haley, you're great. And I also want to give a shout out to our other Metro 21 interns, Mary, who is on here today. You're somewhere, Mary. There you are. I'm not sure where. And Ruth Wang and Kirsten, and have been really great to help move this along. And again, the other thing I want you to be comfortable with, we're not gonna use this without your permission. So everything that's gonna be posted, you're gonna feel comfortable with, your boss is gonna feel comfortable with. It's gonna be curated. So trust is very important in this whole process, and we get that. I also mentioned the virtual government job fair. So we're so thrilled. Our partners at the University of Pittsburgh, they have a fantastic team there led by Sharon Mickens, and they are going to be hosting a virtual job fair. We're looking mid-March, and we're going to start kind of rolling that out in late January in the new year. We want everybody to come. So please join us for that. We'll make sure you're a part of the promotion and the information. And again, we're also going to be, doing our Instagram Stars program as a part of that. And with that, I'm gonna look at the chat real quick to see if there's anything. Okay, great. So the CDC put some links here. Haley, you did a great job. I think we're in great shape. I am so grateful for this amazing panelist group we have. Susan, Kim, Samantha, Malika, and Thistle. Thank you all so much. Thank you from our audience for participating. Wishing you all a healthy and happy winter season. We'll get through this. Much to the thanks of the hard work of the folks at the CDC and the health department. Please take care of yourself. And with that, I'm going to close today. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank you.
meeting everyone.